Hey guys, Zizaran here. I wanted to talk a little bit about the new gem information we have received, and I want to talk a little bit about all the updated gems. And there's a lot of cool ones, a lot of new ones. Some I'm very excited about, and others not so much. But first, I want to start talking about all the summoner gems that are coming out. I haven't really played that many summoners in the past leagues. Last league, I did end up playing Summon Raging Spirit bees and using minion instability and like exploding them. That was very fun. Really enjoyed that, but there were quite a lot of things holding it back, as in you couldn't kill them fast enough. This league that has changed, and we're gonna go over a lot of those things now. First, I want to start with Carrion Golem. This is a completely new gem, and it summons a golem, and we do have some video footage of this as well, and it looks really cool. It like slams. It looks really powerful, and seems to have a ton of life. Probably won't die that often. So it would be really fun to do a pure Carrion Golem build with maxing out max golems. However, these golems do a lot more damage for each non-golem minion. So if you pair them with zombies or summon raging spirits, they end up doing up to 80% more damage. And you can get things like +1 golem on the tree now. In fact, several changes has been made. For example, Vis Mortis no longer has +1 max specters, and the Spectre gem now has plus additional specters on the gem itself. So that's a very recent change that they've done to make it less gear focused. This is a very nice change for solo self-found, because you're not going to necessarily be super dependent on finding, you know, Summon Spectre boots, Summon Spectre chest. You have a lot more leeway and just, you know, leveling up the gem and getting it that way. The next summon gem that I really want to talk about, and probably the one that I'm most excited about, is Infernal Legion. And what this does is that the minions supported by this take 40% of their max life as fire damage per second, sort of creating like a righteous fire effect. They do take 20% reduced fire damage as well, and it's probably going to take them a little bit to die. We can give them negative resists, or you could alternatively try to keep them alive and give them positive resist and use them as like a righteous fire. I don't feel like the damage itself from the Infernal Legion is that high. It's probably going to be enough to clear like normal monsters and stuff. At level 20, it's 1,315 fire damage per second near them. And that is obviously unscaled. And we do have a few ways of scaling that. You know, we can do like burning damage, minion damage, stuff like that. I'm mostly interested in Infernal Legion on using that on my Summon Raging Spirits, because this would make me not rely so much on the Legion Amulet Tavukai, which is what I did a Summon Exploding Bees SRS with last league. So I really want to recreate that this league. This is honestly something I'm looking at as my league starter. It would be a very big change of pace. It's either that or Herald of Ice or a Deadeye. So we're going to see. I think that would be a very fun thing to do, very different. The premise would be that I would use like Infernal Legion SRS and minion instability. I would quite like a Tavukai eventually, just because it's so beefy on like minion life and a few other stuff. It's very nice. Now you're gonna have to balance making sure that the SRS doesn't like insta die as soon as you summon them. Then you'd have to stand on top of monsters. And just with having like a high gem level SRS, they do have like decent hit damage, because you're still scaling like minion damage and you're using increased minion damage gem. So they do have a lot to offer while they're still alive. And then if you get a beefy amount of minion life, then the minion instability explosion is going to be a very big chunk of single target. Now I did already try this in the last thing, as I mentioned, and I think around 10, it was either 10 or 15 explosions for doing around 5 million damage. So there was like 500k ish damage per explosion. And I did try out like Shaper and stuff like that on it, and it killed Shaper very fast. The main problem was that they weren't dying fast enough, so unless the Shaper was killing them with the beam, they had to wait for like, you know, 5 seconds, 6 seconds. That problem has been solved now, because we have additional ways of killing our own minions. So very excited by that. Obviously you would want to pair this up with a Timeless Jewel, the Elegant Hubris, and get a lot of minion damage and minion life that way. Another minion skill that's come out is Death Mark. While it is fairly exciting, I feel like one of the things that's drawing it back a bit is that it does need to be linked to the minion that you want to actually benefit from Deathmark. If you don't have Deathmark in, for example, your Summon Raging Spirits, all it's going to do is help them target. And that is great. That is still a really, really good thing, because sometimes you really want them to target the rare. But yeah, Deathmark is going to be a really good single target skill, because with the Deathmark actually used, like the ability actually used, it is 49% more damage at level 20. However, when the target is attacking something that isn't Deathmarked, they are only taking 25% more damage. Feeding Frenzy is a new support gem that your minions that are supported by this have a 25% chance to grant you Feeding Frenzy. And the minions from the supported skills gain 24% more damage while you have Feeding Frenzy. So that should be permanently up. And it also makes that all minions supported by this are more aggressive. So we now have a few different gems. Like, for example, we have Meat Shield as well, which is sort of similar, but a defensive type gem. Meat Shield makes them like stay around you and protect you. And the Feeding Frenzy one makes it like go out and try to clear quicker for you. So we have more control over our minions now. Definitely a very, very welcome change for people who have played minions for a long time. It's going to be really interesting to see how people use these as well. The offering skills as well have gotten quite a change. One thing that has changed about them is they now have like an effect over your head. So it should be a lot easier to make sure that you have the buff online now. However, another thing that's even better is that Necromancer, instead of having 50% reduced effect, it's only 25% reduced effect. So from all the three offering skills, you can get a very, very big benefit. So gonna be really, really good, especially Flesh Offering, all that like movement speed and stuff. Gonna be really nice for clearing. Also, some minor changes to Convocation. I believe the cooldown is only 3 seconds now instead of 4. So that's gonna be nice as well, especially for like zombies and specters. Specters, the main change there is that a few things have been removed from items. Like Vis Mortis no longer has maximum race specters, and they are now on the skill tree and in the gem itself. So at race specter level 20, you now have 2 raised specters max. I believe there is more at higher levels too. I don't think they've specified if that's going to be 21 or 24 is usually where they put those. But should be really strong this league. Looking at a lot of minion builds. So many cool things we can do. The only change to Summon Raging Spirit is if you hover over a target when casting it, the Summon Raging Spirit is going to try to attack that target. So we didn't get any like damage buff or anything like that. I do, however, think SRS is going to be very frontline, very popular this league. Especially like it feels really good to play with Unleash and getting some early gem levels, which might be harder this league because there has been some changes with, for example, +1 fire gems, +1 cold and stuff like that. The recipe is gone. We can no longer do that, which is what you would normally do for SRS early. So that is a big blow. However, if you do get a +1 old gems or +1 fire gems, for example, that will, if you have 4 linked SRS in your helmet, the +1 fire will still affect it. It's no longer socketed gems. Things like Life Sprig, however, is still only socketed gems. Right, next up we have a couple of poison gems. We're going to start off with Cobra Lash, which is a level 1 gem. That means you could start the league with this. And it's very reminding of Spectral Throw. It has built-in chain to it, and it is poison based. So it's 40% chance to poison hit at level 20 and high damage over time. It's going to be interesting to see. It does look really, really cool in the video. And yeah, 50% of the fist damage is converted to chaos, so it should be really easy making it pure chaos as well. Does look very cool. I wonder, I'm guessing that we're going to end up using Cobra Lash. Could be a pretty good single target. Definitely see it being very, very strong in Assassin. And we have Withering Step, which is sort of like, yeah, just an even more useful face run. It looks awesome. Elusive gives you 40% movement speed and 20 attack and spell dodge. However, it doesn't have a duration. It like keeps fading over time, and that means that it normally can't be renewed. For example, Assassin can get it very often by critting, but it'll continuously get worse until it gets removed and then applied again on full. The nice thing about Withering Step is that it removes your elusive buff, so you can like keep using that and have hopefully a fairly high, be on the like fairly high end of the buff effect version of elusive. So that's very strong, and it gives you phasing as well, and it withers targets that you're like running around, which obviously really great with any poison skills and stuff like that. Another attack skill that we have received is Venom Gyre. Also looks a bit like Spectral Throw and EK maybe? Like, you're basically running around, firing a returning projectile, and your character can catch it. Now, when you use your Whirling Blades, all the blades that you have like inside you, which is up to 30, will just be like thrown out. So you're basically like running around, attacking and catching these blades, and then when you need like an extra clear speed wave, you use your Whirling Blades. So the ones that have been like expunged from your character when you whirl, they cannot be caught again. So it's going to be really interesting. Maybe we'll see people using, you know, shield charge here a bit and then Whirling Blades just to like clear. It's going to be interesting. I can see people using both Cobra Lash and Venom Gyre. Cobra Lash for single target maybe, and Venom Gyre for clear speed. So it's going to be very interesting. We have also gotten Plague Bearer, which is basically Chaos Righteous Fire, but it has a on and off switch. While it is offline, you're constantly gaining plague charges, right? So it's sort of, as they call it, incubating, and then you can incubate a max value up to 1 million, I believe. Yes. You can incubate up to 1 million, and then you release it whenever you want to. So you turn it off when you're not using it, I assume. It's going to be interesting to see how this actually like looks and how it plays out. And you can incubate faster by dealing poison damage. However, there doesn't seem to be a way to renew the incubation value or the plague value while it's online. So you do have to turn it off at some points to charge it up. Pestilence Strike looks very similar to Viper Strike. However, whenever you kill something, the poison chains through prolifts. So AoE Viper Strike, anyone? So, you know, maybe we'll see people using Pestilence Strike for clearing, for that insane clear speed, and Viper Strike for single target. It's going to be interesting to see how they play out as well. Another assassin skill that we have received is Nightblade. It gives you some increased crit chance, and we have, this is another way of getting elusive. I think that's going to be really nice for clear speed. Obviously, it's not something you can have up like at max stacks or max whatever you want to call it all the time, because it's going to keep fading out unless you use Wither Step to cancel it. But definitely a nice clear speed boost. And Nightblade also gives +1 critical strike chance while elusive, so that's 1 base crit that should be permanently up. Do note that this is an attack support, so it cannot be used to get more base crit on heralds, and obviously heralds always struggle a bit on crit. On top of these other skills that we've just talked about, we have a bunch of new mine skills, and mines have been changed as well quite a lot. Mines are thrown now, very similar to traps. Every time they're thrown, they also reserve a part of your mana and act as an aura, and the mines have an aura around them. So they're changed up quite a lot. I'm initially not a massive fan. Obviously, I haven't seen these yet. I haven't had a chance to like test anything like out on alpha or anything. So maybe they'll be great. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not a massive trap or mine fan to begin with, but it sounds clunky and weird initially. It's going to be interesting to see though. Pyroclast Mine, Icicle Mine, I think they are the 3 new ones. And then there are new support gems as well, such as High Impact Mine Support. So they did say that they renamed Fire Nova Mine and Freeze Mine. However, it's more like they deleted Fire Nova Mine and Freeze Mine, because they're nothing like, in the video they showed, they're nothing like the original form. So basically, we now have Icicle Mine, Pyroclast Mine, and Stormblast Mine. Stormblast Mine being completely new. And we also have summon skitter bots. Basically what they do, you have a chilling one and a shocking one. They're going to run around and trigger both your traps and mines, and they're going to detonate them for you. However, if a mine gets detonated by a skitter bot, it's going to rearm, and then if you detonate it, it will detonate again, so they don't use up the charge. So just a little bit of extra damage. It reserves 35% mana to have these skitter bots running around. They chill and shock enemies around them, so could be pretty strong. We also have a blast chain and high impact. High impact giving your mines a chance to deal double damage with hits against enemies near it, up to a maximum of 100. They do initially make 20% less damage as well, so decent damage there. Swift assembly is basically you have an 18% chance to throw 1 additional trapper mine, 12% chance to throw 2 additional, or a 6% chance to throw 3 additional. They also give some increased mine and trap throwing speed, so this could be pretty decent for clear speed. Not initially a massive fan of something with like a very low chance, but at least half the time ish you should be throwing down 2 or more mines. So hopefully pretty decent clear speed. They have done a bunch of smaller reworks to a lot of other gems. Righteous Fire being shafted basically a little bit. It depends. If you have under 7,000 life, I believe the cutoff was, it has technically been buffed. Now, I don't think I've ever had a Righteous Fire build under 7,000 life. Normally, I end up with around 10,000. So hopefully the things like fire damage dot over time and stuff on the skill tree is enough to compensate for that. It might be just as strong. The main reason that I have such a strong reaction to Righteous Fire is because what the hell are they doing to Herald of Agony? Because it just blows my mind. And to quote a good friend of mine called Pee Wee Dan, when we talked about this, he said, they are smoking crack. And I agree. Herald of Agony is by far the strongest gem in the game already. It is not being nerfed at all this league. It has been completely untouched. It is not in the patch notes. And there are so many things in the game now that are buffing it. Necromancer gets +2 minion gems. We have swords now that are doing +3 physical gems. It is physical. It is minion. We can now, I believe somebody said we can get 37 or 38 gem level Herald of Agony. So it's gonna be a slow league because Herald of Agony is no fun at all and very slow. I don't know why. It's a very, very different like play style. Like Righteous Fire is by no means a fast spell, but I enjoy Righteous Fire a lot more than I do enjoy Herald of Agony. However, if you're playing hardcore and you just want to make tons of money farming bosses, it is an amazing choice. Source, I did it last league, great. Funded a ton of builds with it, and it is virtually unkillable, especially if you know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing, and I still survived. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my thoughts on the gems. These were the ones I was like the most excited about. Probably shows that I'm not very keen or excited about the mines at all, but we might explore that later in the league. But these were the main things that I wanted to bring up. Thanks for watching. I'm going to try to put out as many guides as I can. Got a lot of people helping me as well. Obviously, I'm just back from Vegas. So yeah, trying to make as many videos as possible. I hope it helps you. Good luck in Blight, and try to die less than I do.